In 1979, there was a wonderful publication originally made in Germany in the 1890s called The Doll's House by Lothar Meggendorfer, a famous book at the time. It had long since disappeared, and they did a marvellous reproduction of it. It's a doll's house, basically, for young children who love playing homes and houses and rooms and figures on them. So they're all posable stuff. As I turn it around, you'll see each of the rooms comes into view if I do these two parallel like that. So there's doors going in and out to each room, and all the figures then come popping out. So I come from this one here. Again, if I pull these forward like that, it puts the whole thing in perspective. Extraordinary, the music room, wonderful that. And there's another one here which is the kitchen next door to it, but again I need to get these two side pieces in position. So there's a chance for children who are playing with this to bring out their own little creatures as well, all roughly 1/12 scale, and put them into perspective with the rest of it. And then there would be little, almost like live figures in it as well. What's extraordinary about this, of course, is the fact that it packs up completely flat. And that's despite all the details, so let's have a go. I'm going to pack this flat, take this away here. That packs, this all packs up. Oh, look at that, beautiful. That packs flat, that packs upwards, that goes that way. And there's still flapping on. Here's the music room, that's a wonderful one with a piano sticking up like that. It's extraordinary how that works. Pretty well there, where's the last bit? That's going to flap like that and that flap over. Well, I haven't quite got the outside of the book, which is what this, that's a bit like that one. But it makes a flat book eventually when you're finished. So that's a very, very remarkable one of my posable toys. I think one of the most extraordinary ones I've ever come across. There's other ones here which I must show you which are equally bizarre. This is also from Germany. This is a very strange posable. It's made, would you believe, of prunes and a walnut head, and it's got bits of wire throughout it in order to support it. And it's real folk art, and there's a bit of wood for it to sit on. Most peculiar. It's got a little man's face there, let's turn it a little more to the front. Little jerkins, etc. What an extraordinary figure it is. You can't really play with it. I mean, all you do is you feel it. There's definitely dried prunes there, and there's wires going through it to make the figure upright. You've got an umbrella too. But what a bizarre figure that is, isn't it? Posable and German folk art, really at its best. Wonderful. There's an enormous one here which I've had for many years, which is really for small children because they love soft toys. And it's one of these small centipedes with lots and lots of legs to it. I mean, it looks wonderful when it's marches across the table like that. And it bends too as well. I remember the stand who was showing this about sort of 30 years ago at the toy fair had an enormous version of one of these, about 20 yards long, going right over the front entrance to their booths at the British Toy Fair at the time. So very, very, very amazing. But it's a marvellous piece of design and so on, because it's got all these marvellous little legs, each of which has got coloured socks, and makes it very posable. And you can look at it stand up like that, and you can bend it over like that, and have a wonderful time making it go a bit like that, and so on. So lots of fun and games, but it's basically a posable toy. There's no motors and nothing to wind up. You just enjoy playing with it and enjoying it. Here's one which was brought out at the time of Mrs. Thatcher when she was our Prime Minister. Many cartoonists had a bit of fun with her face, but this is a particularly strange one, isn't it? So Mrs. T, we call her nowadays, and there's a picture of her for one of these funny companies that made cartoon characters of the politicians during their tenancy when they were Prime Minister. That's one of dear old Mrs. T. And then there's another very strange one here, which is a twig that's been turned into a kind of posable. You could stick that into a jar or something, so it's not got a person holding it. But it's really quite nicely done, actually, because they've managed to get all the proportions roughly right, and it's got some very, very cheerful look to the feet, with a big smiling laugh. But look at the details on it, and all it is, when it's all said and done, it's just a twig. But when it's looked at in the right way, from the front, and moved from side to side, it's really quite watchable. Nice one. Then here's a very strange one, which was made by a company in America calling themselves the Kencraft Incorporated of Utah, in the USA. And it's made of bubble gum, would you believe? I'll take this off to show it. I'm not sure I'd take it out of its package. I never have. No, I don't think I dare to. But it's made of bubble gum, and it's a little critter. And each of those bits and balls there are balls of bubble gum. I suppose the whole thing, including the brown features of the body, possibly the green stuff as well, perhaps it's all made of bubble gum. So you take the whole thing out and stick it in your mouth and have a good chew and blow some bubbles if it's that sort of stuff. What a very, very strange idea, isn't it? Something very elaborate like that, which is intended to be a sweet, but I think of it as a posable toy because it just sits there and looks bizarre and inviting your comments, etc., etc. The Japanese came up with some wonderful stuff in 1986 when I was in Tokyo. Little posable figures, there's 2 of them here. What's particularly nice about these is they're not completely inert. They actually change when you do this. This one here, you've got to gently push that down like that and let it lift up. And the face is on a sort of funny circular shape. And it's got about 3 changes of expression as he's being successful or very disappointed and crying with frustration because he hasn't hit the ball right. They're all people playing baseball. So click, 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 it goes through a series of faces. And this one likewise will do a series of faces. This one, you have to swivel it like that and you go woof. And he's going to hit the ball here. But he's changing his expression of face, which is very nice indeed. Very nice. Well done, Japanese. And the last one is one of these marvellous things which you have to put over a book to make it, let's see if we can get this right, make it look as though he's looking into the pages. You put it over something which is on a right angle, those 2 right angles, and have him, Mr. Nosy, they called him, make a curious sort of waxy material. I don't know what it's made of quite, but he sits over there looking as though he's trying to hold or possess the book and read into it. So a wonderful, very bizarre, posable figure. There's a lot of variety in these posable toys. I like them because they require a lot of artistic skill to make them come off, and the perspective's got to be right, and it's got to work and look as though it's something attractive. I think there's a few more for me to find. I'm looking for them for too. Let's see how I get on.